When it comes to Roblox, myths have been a huge part of the community for several years now. What are myths in terms of Roblox? Just like in any other culture, myths are just stories, specifically about figures or events that may or may not have occurred in Roblox's history. At first they just began as just disjointed stories and fears of the general player base, but at some point an actual focused community began to arise surrounding them, with people actually creating and researching myths just for the purpose of having fun. This is where the myth iceberg comes in. Yes, I am making another iceberg video. I'm honestly shocked at how prevalent the iceberg meme has been on YouTube, and I was sent this iceberg by Casual Nate, which details various myths and goings on in the myth community. So we're gonna go through this iceberg, huh? Just like the good old times. Yeah, you know how icebergs work. Common info on top and unknown info at the bottom. There are a few entries here that I've covered extensively in other videos, and while I will give them shorter summaries, please check out my other videos if you wish to get a more detailed picture. Any questions? You can't ask any questions, you're just watching a video, silly. Now let's get right into it.
The tip of the iceberg.
Guest 666. I have discussed Guest 666 many times on this channel, so I will keep this entry, as well as the next few, pretty brief. Guest 666 is an evil apparition that would supposedly join games to terrorize players. Its appearance was that of a normal guest, but with completely black skin and blood red eyes. There are many rumors as to what Guest 666 could do. Some say that it had admin powers and could chat, and some say that it could do a lot worse to you. Of course, this myth is not real. It was revealed that there was a browser extension that could change your guest ID, which would have allowed people to make themselves Guest 666 and trick people into thinking that they had seen the real deal. Guest 1337. Guest 1337 is a guest who supposedly advocated for guest rights. He is also the main character of the Last Guest series on YouTube. I talked a bit more about that in my other iceberg video. One thing to note, however, 1337 is a kind of code for leet, which is kind of an archaic term nowadays, but all you need to know is that 1337 is a funny number. Guest 666 videos. There are many popular myths in the YouTube sphere of the Roblox community, but possibly the most profitable myth to make videos on next to 1x1x1x1 would be, of course, Guest 666. Around like 2016 to 2018 especially, there were just hundreds and hundreds of videos with millions and millions of views. Lots of views. Hey guys, today we found Guest 666, John Doe and Jane Doe plus March 18th. Another topic I've covered a lot, John Doe and Jane Doe are two official test accounts created by Roblox in June of 2005. They were dormant for pretty much their entire lifespans since they were just test accounts. Still, despite not having logged in since 2006, they were receiving badges that were created in 2012, and friending players seemingly randomly. This led to a rumor that spread like wildfire. People were claiming and assuming that these accounts were hacked or were dangerous Roblox hackers themselves. A rumor was started soon after that these accounts would hack all of Roblox on March 18, 2017, and if you were playing Roblox on that day, your account was as good as theirs. This myth has YouTube to thank for spreading so quickly, as many videos were made talking about the March 18th incident. Still, the day came and went, of course, without any incident. It was later revealed by Clinchable1019 and Roblox themselves that the reason the accounts had gotten the badge and had friended some accounts was just due to some bugs. Specifically, there was an exploit that allowed some players to force these dormant accounts to accept friend requests from them. On March 21st, 2017, Roblox made a blog post clearing up the accounts, to which they then updated the two accounts and cleaned their friend lists. 1x1x1x1. Another classic, 1x1x1x1, was a test account made in May of 2010. Similar to the John and Jane Doe myths, it got a lot of traction with people believing this account was a hacker and could hack Roblox and anyone. It was debunked by Mr. Doombringer, but 1x1x1x1 still remains a large part of the Roblox mythos. I've talked about 1x1x1x1 at length in almost all of my videos, so I'm not going to spend any more time on this. Robloxian Myth Hunters. Robloxian Myth Hunters is one of the largest and oldest myth hunting groups in Roblox's history. With a fully fledged rank and application system, the Myth Hunters are a very well put together organization. The members of the RMH are tasked with going through myth games, hunting down and researching myths. They are a huge part of the myth community, and without them, Roblox myths would be nothing.
The surface.
Bloxwatch. Bloxwatch is a Roblox hacker group that started getting attention after the John and Jane Doe rumors. According to the myth, while playing certain games, you'll be able to see pairs of white or red eyes. Getting close to them will cause your account to get deleted and IP banned. Sometimes, if you see the eyes, the clock on your computer can change to January 30th, 2004 at 7:43 a.m., which was supposedly the exact time when the Roblox domain was purchased. These reports supposedly date back to 2006. This myth was mainly disproven, as 2 accounts that were supposedly banned because of Bloxwatch are still active. The myth started to gain recognition in 2017 when many famous Roblox YouTubers began posting videos about it. After the myth took off, Bloxwatch groups are created. These are groups that claim to be hackers bent on, I guess, causing chaos. Enzo is a Roblox YouTuber who is well known for his Roblox Myths and Legends series on YouTube, where he researches many different myths. This brought a lot of attention to myths that may have been less well known at the time. He originally began in the Robloxian Myth Hunters at YouTube rank, but left in 2017, soon after forming his own group, the Myth Hunters. Enzo does not make myth content anymore. Gauze, or GOZ, is one of Roblox's oldest and most well-known myths, starting in 2012, when rumors spread that players who joined his games would find models of their dead bodies in the games a short while later. Gauze is based off of John Wayne Gacy, the killer clown. Of course, Gauze is the killer of some sort himself. Gauze's games, such as Circus in the Sky, amassed millions of plays after Flamingo himself played them, making Gauze a household name in the Roblox myth community. Gauze stopped making myth games a while ago, opting to do Let's Plays and actually work on a comic series about the myth and its past, although neither have seen any activity since last year. Nolly. The Void Star was released to the public eye after the mysterious object event had finished. User Nolly had gotten the first Void Star and shortly after began displaying weird behavior, most notably in his physical appearance. In games he would corrupt everything he stood on and emitted an odd aura. He would shut down games frequently, hack into player accounts, and edit the site. This led to moderators swiftly terminating Nolly and working on some ways to prevent an occurrence like this happening ever again. Nolly is another one of Roblox's oldest and most well-known myths, starting around 2009. Nolly is said to be a lot of things: a cultist, a hacker, the ghost of a past moderator. Nobody really knows. Supposedly, however, he was so huge of a threat to Roblox that he was quickly terminated. It is said that Nolly has 50 alternative accounts, although there is no proof of this. Only 2 accounts of Nolly are identified: Swayju D Nolly and Banworld, both of which have myth games on them. Nolly has 2 cult groups on Roblox worshipping him: Void Cult and the Cole Family, the latter of which is far more popular, with almost 5,000 members on Roblox. Flamingo/Albert Stuff. Albert Aretz, or Flamingo/Albert Stuff, is a Roblox YouTuber with almost 10 million subscribers. He's probably the most famous figure in the Roblox YouTube community, making all sorts of gameplay videos about, well, Roblox. The lens which this entry is viewed through, however, is his myth videos. Flamingo has made over 100 videos related to Roblox myths. Many of the myths we have covered or will cover on this Iceberg, he's made a video about. His videos are insanely popular, raking in millions of views per video. This in itself has generated a fair amount of controversy for Flamingo, as many people blame him for the decline of myths, claiming that nowadays people mainly make myths just to appeal to Flamingo to get on the channel. In addition to Flamingo just being viewed by a lot of people as plain annoying.
Oh my god! Oh no! Wow! What? Help! 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 I can't do anything!
The situation around Mr. Flimflam's myth videos is always a bit turbulent. This did lead him to stop making myth videos for a while in 2020. The Cult Family. The Cult Family is a group of myths very well known on Roblox and has been around since 2012. It began with Smith Cult, the patriarch of the Cult Family. He would post decals claiming his family were in them, but there was nobody in the pictures. The family around this time only consisted of Martha Cult and Brandon Cult, but soon more will be created: Don Cult, David Cult, and Grandpa Cult, to name a few, with each of them relating to Smith Cult and painting a dark picture of the man. Over the next 8 years, a long and detailed story would unfold concerning the Cult Family, one I can't go into in this video. Many of the family members died, many new ones joined, and there were several major overhauls to the myth. The Cult Family was, of course, covered in a Flamingo video, which is what actually made it popular. Cult Family is still an active myth to this day, under Cult Family Rebirth. The Community. The Community is a Roblox user that was able to propel himself to myth status in a unique way. You see, rather than making a myth game or being in the spotlight himself, the Community operated in the background, pulling the strings. You see, the Community is actually the one behind the John and Jane Doe and March 18th rumors. He was among the first to use the exploit that allowed him to become friends with John and Jane Doe, allowing him to purvey the rumors that the accounts were hackers. He did the same thing with 1x1x1x1 as well. Even when the events of March 18th and the Doe accounts were debunked, many people revered the Community as a legendary hacker. His account was terminated and plenty of groups were created in an attempt to be affiliated or claim to be affiliated with him or just to revere him. The now iconic baghead that he wears has become synonymous with the idea of exploiting and hacking, even if the Community was never actually a big hacker or anything. Chuck Lloyd. Chuck Lloyd is a popular myth associated with the Shadelight investigation, which we will discuss more later on. Chuck Lloyd is a World War II veteran with a wife and daughter named Loyan that he reportedly is going so far as to stab her and kick her down the stairs. It's implied that Chuck also ended up killing his wife and daughter. Chuck Lloyd has been involved in some of Flamingo's videos. Really though, Chuck Lloyd is less of his own myth and more of an important piece of a larger investigation. Unfortunately, Chuck Lloyd and Shadelight have been most likely retired due to a controversy which I'll discuss a bit later. Caroline and Clinton. Caroline and Clinton are sort of secondary myths dating all the way back to 2012, but mostly serving as additional characters in other myths. They are a little boy and girl with bunny paper plate masks on. Caroline was bullied when she was younger, being physically abused by her peers to the point of scarring on her face. This is the reason she always wears the paper plate mask now, to cover up those scars. Don't worry though, it's said that Caroline murdered her bullies soon after. It's also speculated that Clinton is simply Caroline's imaginary friend, which is why he looks similar. Either way, Clinton has a lot less going on, just being there with Caroline. The two children are well known for their involvement with Gauze and the Circus in the Sky, being Gauze's assistants in that game.
Ghost animals.
Lizus and Malorina. In 2007, there were two best friends who played Roblox together all the time. Their names were Lizucia and Malorina. For no apparent reason, these two players would face harassment and bullying from the other Robloxians they played with, being falsely reported. One day, the two joined a game just to face the same harassment as usual, but they reacted differently. Tick-tock, tick-tock, revenge has come, they both said, striking confusion among those on the server. The players would leave that server, confused and uncomfortable, and none of them were ever heard from again. Their accounts completely gone. Roblox caught wind of this and banned the accounts, but in 2011 the account resurfaced under a new name, Lizus. Malorina was yet to make a return. It is rumored that a new account arose at one point claiming to be Malorina, but Lizus knew better, so he hacked and terminated the false account. From then on, Lizus was known to be one of the most notorious users in the myth genre, even though he was pretty inactive. Lizus was also an active Void cultist, tying him with the Nully myth as well. Lizus wears the iconic white tragedy mask, which has stayed on throughout the account's entire history. In 2018, Lizus' account was randomly terminated. The creator of the account and myth, Ironman5747, claimed they terminated it intentionally to end the myth for good. Morgenne. Morgenne is a myth that claimed to be a nurse. She had a collection of dolls that would follow players around and kill them when they weren't looking. Morgenne's more iconic look was a female Robloxian wearing a bear mask, nurse hat, core blocks collar, and a gray cloak, with her skin a shade of blue. Her theme was ice/cold, with plenty of references to cold. Morgenne was a developer at the Circus in the Sky, and is associated with Gauze and the Gauze myths. She's a very well-known myth, and was apparently also the first myth to have their game posted on the front page of Roblox. The Morgenne myth has retired, with the creator changing the account to HIFs to distance themselves from the myth most likely. Nathaniel. A boy who thought of himself as less than human, little Nathaniel lost his mother. He thought of himself as a stranger to the world and unworthy of existence. He paints himself red as a sign of his feelings to himself, a failure and worthy of nothing at all. He eventually tries to hang at himself, but it fails, and he has a vision where he experiences the truth of life. His brain begins to turn back on as he experiences flashes of color and light. He realizes his purpose, and it is understood. His story is finished, and yours is ready to be written. Nathaniel, or Little Nathaniel as his main account is called, is sort of a new age myth. Starting in 2016, Nathaniel debuted with The Thing That Walks With Her, a very bizarre and enigmatic game that kind of set the precedent for obscure myth games. Nathaniel has many accounts and many games and was active all the way through last year. While the Nathaniel myth does have a story, it operates differently to older myths in that the whole story is just he's a crazy guy, with people even joking that the creator took opium and made the myth based off what he saw. The Smiles Family. The Smiles Family is Roblox's most popular myth group ever, with over 150,000 members. The myth is about Robert Smiles dealing with the loss of his wife and son in a car crash, while also uncovering the mystery of the diamond eyes. This myth's story goes through many other Smiles family members, but it is now completed. The Missing Dominus. The Missing Dominus, also known as the Deadly Dark Dominus, was released onto the catalog for purchase for only 15 minutes before being taken down. Only 3 users ever purchased it, 2 users who were banned, and Merely. Nobody knows why those 2 accounts were banned, and nobody is sure why Merely wasn't, but the item cannot be searched, although it is said that if you scroll through Merely's inventory enough, you will see the item as a question mark. This, of course, led the Dominus to be not only a mysterious myth, but also possibly an interesting piece of lost media. On April Fool's 2016, Roblox released the DIY Deadly Dark Dominus onto the catalog, poking fun at the myth. The Deadly Dark Dominus is the stuff of epic legends. It did exist. It doesn't exist. Does Tinfoil Bot know the truth? Who knows? So, did the Missing Dominus ever exist? Well, I'm not sure if it ever went on sale, but there actually is a leftover mesh and decal of the Deadly Dark Dominus. So yes, it did exist at some point, and it is fully complete. Roblox decided just for whatever reason not to release it. The WWE 1938. WWE 1938 was the first well-known Roblox myth YouTuber, making his channel back in 2014. He covered myths like Caroline and Clinton and gods. He was marked as the main inspiration for Enzo to create his videos. At the beginning of 2020, however, he stopped making videos and either deleted his channel or privated all his videos. When you search the channel now, it shows up as King Water Orenin. Orenin is a myth created in January of 2017, debuting with his game Moving In. The game contained a house surrounded by trees. After walking inside, the player could see another character of the story, Valorna, who was presumably his wife. Valorna's actual account wouldn't be created until a year later. Orenin is known to reference Valorna in his games, as well as his group, Household Guests. While Orenin was labeled as a smaller/upcoming myth for a while, he would gain true myth status when Albert made a video on him, which gained over 1 million views. In February of 2019, Orenin made the game Through My Eyes, which explained his myth further. This game also had a few references to GOZ, implying the 2 myths are connected somehow. On June 23, 2020, Orenin shouted in his group Household Guests the following statement: "Now that we're dead, my dear, we can live forever," insinuating that he and his wife, Valorna, are deceased. It is unconfirmed if this is a hint that his myth has retired or simply a part of the ongoing story. MythCon 2019. MythCon 2019 was a virtual convention held inside Roblox. From what I could tell, it was run by a group called Roblox Myth Events, owned by Solar Empire. Like the name suggests, it was a convention for the myth community. Mainly, it was a panel where several myths and myth hunters got together to answer questions about myths and the myth community. Some big names such as KAZDAM and a lone traveler showed up, and it seemed like it went well. Unfortunately, there have been no other MythCons so far. Ubuli. Ubuli is a myth from 2014, starting with a video by Mrs. Kitty, also known as Coco Kitty 0 on Roblox. In it, she claims that she received a message from a user by the name of Ubuli, in which she spammed her with the phrase, "Please don't laugh at me." Coco ignored it, but after playing another game, she got another message. "Why didn't you save me? The boys were trying to kill me and they did. Now all I need for you is to save me. Please, save me." Coco then went to Ubuli's game but found nothing there. When she returned to the website, she realized that her character was now completely black with all her items gone. Shortly afterwards, she received another message, in which Ubuli thanked her for saving her. She now looked exactly like Coco. The video ends with the warning not to save Ubuli. This myth got an entry in the Myths and Legends series by Enzo, which accumulated over 200,000 views. Davendrog is a game made by Juke in May of 2014. It is an eerie burnt down town. All the residents occupying it have weird distorted faces, and various ultrasound pictures can be found around the game. It details the story of a boy named Carol, who was bullied at school for his girly name. Relying on his parents for comfort, Carol's dad one day got violent and hurt Carol and his mother, additionally killing their dog. This led Carol to lash out in rage and teach his classmates a lesson, in which he presumably committed a Yerushalayim and possibly even burned down the town. This myth got a video by Enzo and an investigation from Flamingo. Rust 010. Rust 010 was a Roblox myth/myth-inspired horror game developer. He made various horror games such as Smile, The Sunken Place, and Look Behind You. Rust is mostly known for stalking Flamingo. He made a lot of his storylines center around Flamingo and would only prefer to be around him. This led people to debate as to whether or not Rust was an actual myth or just a myth-inspired horror game dev, since many people thought he was just making creepy games with no associated storyline. Grocery Gang. Grocery Gang was a meme group that was created in 2018, but switched to be more of an actual myth group in 2019. It was originally based off of the simple joke of a shopping cart in a desert, but when it became more fleshed out, it came to have more of a corporate focus, with games and characters being based off companies and factories. The aesthetic of Grocery Game was that of a surrealist joke myth, which parodied the state of the modern myth community. This resonated with people a lot, because when Flamingo covered Grocery Gang on his channel, the group exploded, having more than 116 members at one point. In September of 2020, the Grocery Gang Discord server encountered some issues, with the server getting nuked, leading to many members leaving. This led to the owner of the myth posting that he was not in the right condition to continue the myth, so it was retired. In February of 2021, Grocery Gang announced that it was coming back out of retirement, but as happens far too often, only 2 months later they retired once more, this time for good. Error 45229. Error 45229 is a legend amongst the myth community. Originating around 2014, the myth goes that someone will send you a link to a game, asking you to play it. Clicking the link would crash your computer, but once you get back in, you'd be forced into a game called You Were a Fool to Run From Us. And shortly afterwards, your character would turn completely red and your username would change to 45229. Error 45229 appears in the Myth Containment Facility game. Saint Dos the 12th? Saint Dos is the leader of the Saint Abida tribe and, well, a myth. This myth got popular once Flamingo covered it, but it is not particularly famous or anything. In 2019, Saint Dos almost quit being a myth, but decided against it. And while in May of the same year he did fully quit, development of games related to the myth were continuing under another developer. Roblox HQ Ghosts. Roblox HQ Ghosts was the first video in Enzo's Roblox Myths and Legends series. This myth resembles more of a word-of-mouth thing, because I couldn't find much documentation on it. In Enzo's video, he talks about a ghost in the Roblox HQ game that would kill NPCs as you played. By the end of the video, the myth was labeled as 100% false. Melvin. Melvin was supposedly a player in 2007 who unfortunately died of cancer a year later. In his honor, Roblox put up the Ghost Shaggy hat, but took it down soon after, possibly because a ghost-themed hat could be viewed as offensive in commemoration of someone's death. This most likely angered Melvin's spirit, who then moved on to haunt the Roblox platform. Every year, a random player would encounter an oddity when trying to join any Roblox game. They would instead be teleported to a pitch-black game instead of the original game they requested to join. Inside the game, there would be a transparent shaggy hat that would speak to the player. The player would not be able to close out of the game and would eventually crash. After crashing, the user would never be heard from again, supposedly dying. They would also have the transparent shaggy in their Roblox inventory named Melvin. There are other versions of the story where the user is just terminated as well. The Melvin myth came to a head in 2010, but in May of 2021, a TikTok user claimed that she would play the Melvin game. She said that she would post the results later, but the only thing she posted indicated that she needed someone to call 911. She never posted again. This sparked interest over the Melvin myth once again, but since this is the only video ever on her page, it's safe to assume that this isn't real. While there are no records of a player named Melvin who died in 2008 currently, there is a texture for a black shaggy that exists on the Roblox site. Could this be the ghostly shaggy the Roblox took down? Who knows? Shadelight. The Shadelight investigation kicked off in 2017 as a side investigation when myth hunters discovered a place called Shadelight in Chuck Lloyd's basement. It was confirmed to be a teleporter, but investigators did not know how to access it and where it leads. While Chuck Lloyd himself owns the basement where Shadelight is located, he himself knows nothing about it. Shadelight requires 5 keys to enter, 5 code phrases, which investigators still haven't found all of. Shadelight is connected to multiple other myths and has a lot of moving pieces which I cannot even begin to cover in this video. Unfortunately, investigation on Shadelight in present day is sparse due to people figuring out that KAZDAM was actually behind the Shadelight myth. Vault 8166 is real. On November 15th, 2016, an anonymous user created a thread on the Roblox Talk subforum. This user was claiming to have accidentally gotten into this unknown place while testing out a teleporter for a game. The thread was a brief summary on how evil is operating behind our eyes, and that there is a place where dangerous people are gaining access to user profiles and other information as we speak. This secret place was referred to as Vault 8166. The original post and the user discussing it are completely gone now, maybe covered up. Vault 8166 is said to be a hidden server on Roblox run by hackers which have access to an unbelievable amount of information on Roblox. It is said they can monitor users and their interactions and have access to dangerous scripts and APIs that could destroy the platform. Supposedly, some of Roblox's most dangerous exploits originated in this vault. This entry claims the vault is real. There is a game that exists under Vault 8166, but it is just a myth game and can't actually do the thing the myth claims. It's also possible Vault 8166 is not a myth and it's not actually a physical vault, rather a collective of powerful hackers with a variety of bots and exploits that gave them access to Roblox the way the myth claimed they would have. There is no evidence of such a thing existing though, and I highly doubt it's real. Father-Son. Father-Son is the main antagonist of Circus in the Sky and seems to be the sort of godlike figure who is praised by many figures in the Gauze mythos. Not too much is known about Father-Son, but it is theorized that this entity can control and possess minds, and is responsible for driving GOZ insane and making him kill multiple players. The April Fool's 2012 Smile. Less of a myth and more of an actual occurrence, the April Fool's 2012 smile was a face that was hacked onto the Roblox website during the April Fool's 2012 incident. The only person to actually get the smile was Stickmaster Luke. You can still see the face on the Roblox website, although it of course cannot be purchased. If you want to know more about the April Fool's incident, you can look at my History of Roblox Hackers video for a more in-depth look. KAZDAM. Alright, so KAZDAM. You've heard a decent amount about him during this video, so who is he? KAZDAM was the leader of Roblox's Myths, or the RM Foundation, one of Roblox's most popular myth hunting groups to date. KAZDAM was the self-proclaimed king of myths, which was all good until controversy struck last year. In 2020, KAZDAM was exposed for interacting inappropriately with 3 underage girls and abusing his girlfriend at the time. It also came out that KAZDAM was behind many popular myths such as Shadelight, Ulifer, and Smile. It turned out he was using his status as the head of RM to make them popular. This was, of course, a huge blow to the myth community as a whole, and some may say it really destroyed part of the myth community. Due to that drama and several raids from dissenters, the RM Foundation was torn apart, and KAZDAM had to step down. Others tried to take the position, but it was futile, and Roblox's Myths is no longer active. There's so much more to this story and its effects on the myth community, so if you guys want, I can definitely cover this in a full video later. Who created the John Doe myth? John Doe and March 18th are myths that we now know are as just part of the Roblox history. It seems like they exploded, coming from nowhere. But who started it? Most people would say YouTubers such as Kazak and Equalex started the rumor after hearing about the strange occurrences surrounding John Doe in 2017. This may be true to a degree. They definitely started its massive boom in popularity, but I think one of the first solid mentions of the John Doe rumor dates back to about 2 years before, 2015, by a person named Gian. They discuss how it was strange that the John Doe account had items that came out in 2014 when they hadn't played since 2016. Although there are no accusations of hacking or haunted accounts, it did bring the account into question as the mystery behind John Doe. Only 2 years later, of course, would the mystery behind his account blow up to what it is today. Roblox Footage Archives. Roblox Footage Archives, or RFA, was a myth/ARG series posted to YouTube in 2020. It follows the story of a prototype version of Roblox designed to brainwash and control the minds of its players. You might not consider it a myth, but it had various myth-like properties with its own wiki, which has entries for entities and phenomena and whatnot. Unfortunately, midway through its development, it was taken off the internet. All of its videos, the wiki, everything was destroyed. As for why and what RFA's ultimate fate was, well, I have a video on that which explains everything fully. Void Cult. The Void Cult is one of the cults worshipping Nully. It's the biggest group currently worshipping Nully. That's about it. Morgenne allegations. In 2018, after a dispute between Loyan and Morgenne, Loyan leaked private information to KAZDAM in frustration. Soon after, KAZDAM would make a post in the RM Discord renouncing Morgenne's myth status and releasing the information given to him, making several accusations, claiming Morgenne was a catfish. Only the latter turned out to be true, as Morgenne was not actually a girl and was supposedly catfishing Loyan. This led to complete outrage, with many people turning against Morgenne, but also many people becoming angry with KAZDAM for leaking private information and making potentially false claims. I don't even think Morgenne could have been a alpha at the time. I'm pretty sure they're a minor. In the end, Morgenne ended up quitting being a myth and KAZDAM was fine, of course until the events of a few years later. Spirit. Spirit is one of the first myths to ever exist. Spirits were players with a black head, white torso, and green arms that would join mainly Crossroads games and supposedly terrorize players in them. The rumor went that the spirits were ghosts wandering Roblox and torturing players, blah blah blah. The Roblox Spirit Killers, or RSK, were sort of like an early myth hunting group for spirits, except they hunted the spirits, literally, killing them in whatever games they found them in. The account Spirit, presumably the epicenter of this myth, began posting cryptic and spooky games, mainly the Torture Chamber, in an attempt to scare off the Spirit Killers. This game is known as one of Roblox's first horror games. This was a back and forth that went on for a while, until eventually the myth basically just died out. It turns out the person who was behind the Spirit account was none other than Mike, creator of Ultimate Paintball. Much later on, he admitted to making the Torture Chamber game and uncopylocked it, although it is gone now. If you'd like to know more about Spirit, check out Toasted Cherries' video on the subject. Roblox Mythingators Case Number 1, The Weird Thing. In December of 2008, user Aquajet316 posted a video to YouTube titled Roblox Myth Investigators Case Number 1, The Weird Thing. The video is simple, very primitive. It details a mysterious figure standing at the edge of Aquajet's world, watching from a distance. When the world is reloaded, the figure disappears. That's it. In fact, this same user uploaded a part 2 in which they said it was most likely just a broken script which was causing the spawning and despawning of a random figure. Of course, a very basic myth, especially compared to what would be to come. Still, this is very important as it marks the first ever documented Roblox myth. And that's the myth iceberg. There are plenty of other myths out there that I didn't cover, and plenty more lore surrounding the myth community itself, but this is the rundown. An intro to myths, if you will. If you liked the video, be sure to slap a like and click that subscribe button. If you guys like myths and are interested in them, please be sure to let me know in the comments. I'd love to cover these myths individually with more depth in the future. Please be sure to check out my second channel and my Discord, donate to my Patreon for rewards and to gain early access to these videos, and follow my Twitter, please. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Later.